I work in computer vision, and I'm going to just talk about a few different projects that have been completed in the last couple of years in my group, just to give you a kind of flavor for the kind of work that my students have been doing. So it's hard to organize this into a coherent theme because I have students working on a lot of different topics that are not necessarily all related, except that they're computer vision related and related to using deep learning for the most part, which is just barely gives you any more information than to say that they're computer vision, because all computer vision now is using deep learning. But one kind of theme of a few projects has been doing 3D reconstruction of either humans or animals. And this is a really interesting problem because living things are non-rigid, and they are difficult to reconstruct for that reason. But at the same time, we have a lot of prior knowledge about them that can be used to assist in reconstruction. And so here's an example from a recent piece of work where we want to take a picture of somebody's face and we train a deep neural network to do a reconstruction that includes the albedo, the way the skin reflects light, the surface normals, and also the lighting. And there's a few key ideas here, but one of the themes of this and some other related work is to combine computer graphics with real images to do this, because we have an infinite supply of computer graphics. It's not totally real, and it's fully labeled. But if we just use computer graphics, that doesn't work very well. On the other hand, we have also an infinite supply of real images of faces, but they're unlabeled. We don't know what the 3D structure of the faces are. And so this work is really about combining those two sources of information. And let's see if, oh yeah, the video actually came across. And so we can build 3D reconstructions, including 3D meshes. And so this is more recent work that's in a journal submission that, I mistyped Daniel's name, that Daniel Leachy's been working on. We've also been doing work on reconstruction of bodies. And so this is some recent work where we take a picture of a person and build a 3D reconstruction of the human body with, again, some of the same issues being present, how to combine carefully controlled collected data that's labeled but sparse with real images. We've also done work on 3D reconstruction of more challenging animals. And so the idea here is to take pictures of a bunch of cats and learn a model that reflects the way that cat bodies can deform, and use that model to build a 3D reconstruction from a single image. And so you want to take a picture like this and build a 3D model like the one on the right. And then this is all work with Anju Kanazawa, who's recently graduated. And so this is work on also taking pictures of other types of animals so with cats, you have millions of images, as many as you want. With hippos, you have a bit less data. And so this is really about using more limited data to get reasonable 3D reconstructions. And then also, we've been doing work on 3D reconstruction of scenes as well as living things. And so here the problem is you want to take a picture of a scene and reconstruct, again, the lighting, the normals, the albedo. And again, this work is about combining computer graphics with real images in order to do this. Oh, and then I'll just mention a lot of this work on animals actually sort of grew out of previous work we'd done on classification of animals by species. So for example, taking pictures of leaves of trees and identifying the species of tree. So I'm also interested in more theoretical problems. This is one example where, so this is work I've been doing, I didn't list the names. This is work I've been doing with Ronen Basri at the Weizmann Institute in Israel and a couple of his students, where we're trying to understand something about how deep networks learn. And we're able to show, this is in a theoretical result, that networks learn high-frequency functions much more slowly than low-frequency functions. And to give an explicit form for the rate at which, given a whole bunch of unrealistic assumptions, We have explicit forms for how quickly these things happen. And we also have experiments that show that actually in realistic, somewhat realistic settings, the theory sort of matches, the predictions made by the theory match the experiments. And so the idea here is that if you're trying to learn a complex function which contains both high and low frequency components, you very quickly learn the low frequency components, but it takes a lot longer to learn the high frequency components. And the reason this is interesting is because it suggests a couple of things about how gradient descent regularizes the way deep networks learn. That, for example, if you use early stopping, then you're learning the smooth, low-frequency components of the function first, and the high-frequency components are the ones that really are overfitting the data, and you can capture the essence of the data without overfitting if you're using early stopping. Or if you're using an overparameterized network, which people typically do, so that there are many ways of fitting your data, this shows that you're going to learn a function that's relatively low frequency to fit your data instead of some arbitrary, weird, high-frequency function that would also fit the data. This is an example of, again, some more practical work by my student Jin on learning context, models of context, and decomposing the appearance of an object from the context of that object. And so one of the reasons that you want to do this is that it allows you to do things like find missing objects. So in this case, we were looking for missing curb ramps, right? There's supposed to be curb ramps on all corners, but if you can automatically find missing curb ramps, this can be very useful for accessibility applications. And so the idea is that a missing curb ramp is a location where the context suggests that there should be a curb ramp, but your object model says that there isn't one. So those are just some of the projects I've been working on. There's a bunch of other stuff that I'm leaving out for reasons of time or ongoing work that isn't really complete yet that I didn't want to talk about yet. I have a student who's done a lot of work on training neural networks more efficiently. And this is the student, Abe, is co-supervised with Tom Goldstein, who does machine learning and optimization. I have some prior work also on trying to understand what kinds of things deep networks can represent more efficiently. And this is theoretical work. And then finally, I've been really interested in the problem of matrix completion. And so if you know what principal component analysis is, or SVD is, matrix completion is just doing SVD when some of the elements of the matrix are missing. So you want to fit a low-ranked matrix to your observations, but there's some missing elements. And I have some theoretical results and some experimental results on this problem. I'm mentioning it at length because I can never get any students to work on this problem. I think because it's not deep learning and it's more theoretical. But if anybody is really interested in those things, you should talk to me about it. So this is just a kind of quick overview of a bunch of the things that I'm interested in. And I hope I'll get to talk with a lot of you and get to know you all in the coming semester. Thanks.